Penguin issue 10, Tom King writing with Rafael de la Torre on the art. So, Penguin's really messing up his kid's criminal empire in this issue, which is kind of the main focus. And by the end, it seems like maybe his scheme with manipulating Batman, which Batman's like kind of aware he's doing, but he just doesn't know how to get around it yet.
She's like, no, he's using me, but how do I stop him from using me without letting him know that he knows that I know? Right?
But the ending of the issue kind of implies that Penguin pushes his kids so far, specifically his daughter. He's pushed her so far that she's going to Batman to be like, hey, like, this is what he's probably up to. Like, I want to help you take him down. So now Batman gets to pick his Cobblepot. He's got his choice of Cobblepots.
It's like father, like daughter, you know?
Yeah.
And King, I really appreciate that King, the more that we get to know the twins, because I wasn't that familiar with them. I don't think I read the story that introduced them, but to see that like Addison, his daughter, is much more like Oswald than we thought, and that Aiden is almost the son is almost the complete opposite, where he's much more of a physical threat, right, than a mental threat. So I do like that they're both distinct, and I appreciate that King showing us how like who Oswald sees as the bigger threat.
Yeah, so what we see like Batman going after like the chain of supply. There's this truck driver who transports, I don't know, probably drugs, maybe other stuff, to Metropolis from Gotham for the Cobblepots. And Batman has his whole big scary I am the night entrance in the back of the truck. You just hear the scream from the truck, which is a really good bit of art. It's a good bit of storytelling. It's a nice little page. The art here is pretty solid. As is the page where the daughter Cobblepot is hitting a golf ball into the mouth of a guy from Intergang. So basically, Intergang's the two they're sending these things to in Metropolis, and they've not received their shipment. So they've sent in this guy, and the Cobblepot twins just decide to torture the shit out of him and then try and feed him to Killer Croc. In fact, there's a kind of a running joke later that they've basically been giving so many bodies to Killer Croc to eat that Killer Croc started to turn them away and go, no, I'm full. I'm too full. I can't eat any more Intergang members.
Yeah, no more Intergang. I think I'm allergic.
Yeah, so I had a good bit of fun with that. So, yeah, like that kind of sets up what's going on here. You know, there's a bit more of Penguin's ex-wife getting involved, and like Black Spider is kind of like double crossing the twins, and that's a part of the plot here. But yeah, it's basically just this idea that Batman keeps interrupting all of the shipments, and even though the Cobblepot twins keep putting out more and more like couriers at the same time, thinking, oh, Batman won't be able to deal with all of them, he's somehow doing it because Penguin is basically saying, hey, they're just using the same infrastructure I had, so this is how I did everything. Here's all of the possible ways they could be transporting stuff out of the city. And there's a page where you see Batman chasing down a van, one where he's in like a bat helicopter chasing down a helicopter, one where he's on a jet ski chasing down a jet ski, one where he's on a train, so on and so forth. Like it's like a whole montage, if you will.
And it doesn't get too repetitive. We're getting the point that, you know, another day, another shipment stopped. The Batman's been very, very busy.
It's smart storytelling. That first one with the guy in the truck, you give that a couple, 2 or 3 pages to really set up the context, give him the big entrance, and then with the montage, you just get the sense, oh, he's just doing that to all these other couriers, and you know they've got their own challenges, but ultimately it's the same sort of thing. So yeah, basically, Black Spider passes on what the Cobblepots are doing. And Penguin's ex-wife's like, okay, I'm going to shoot you to make this look like you, you know, like, because he was meant to courier or something. I'm going to shoot you to make it look like you didn't give it up. And she shoots him in both the arm and the leg to make it look convincing. So even she's a bit on the ruthless side. But, you know, so it really paints this idea to the point where Penguin's daughter comes and visits him in the park. And a lot, you know, obviously the book has that thing where it's everyone else's narration, right? So it starts off with Batman. There's a bit of Penguin's ex-wife. Penguin's daughter, particularly in this scene where she comes to see Penguin in the park, basically talks about how Penguin, when she was a kid, would abandon her and her brother to go and hang out with the pigeons in the park instead, and that she hates that she got jealous of a pigeon. So she snaps a pigeon's neck in front of Penguin, and Penguin plays it cool. He doesn't even react to it. He acts like a loving father, and like you know, basically says, "Oh, don't worry, like this intergang and whatnot, like they're not going to kill you. Like you're my daughter, you're resourceful, and I'll never let them do that. Besides, I'll have you killed long before they ever get to finish the job." And he just says that casually at the end of the scene. It's so funny. It's darkly funny, but it's funny.
You don't have to worry about them because you're not going to survive me. And just the way that he says it so calm and almost like with a smirk on his face on the panel underneath there, where he goes, "I hope you have a pleasant day." It's just like, oh man, this guy's nuts.
Well, yeah, that was my favorite thing. Is like, so Batman has there's like a quiet night in Gotham, and the reason why it's so quiet is that basically Penguin's daughter's so pissed off after this meeting. She's like, okay, every single like henchman we have, let's send them in to kill Penguin in the park. But Penguin seemingly was waiting with the 4th of July and the help, and Black Spider tipped him off again. So we cut to the park, and he's just going to kill all of their goons, except his own son, who was the muscle who was sent in as the leader. He's like, okay, I'm not going to kill you because you're my son, so you can go, but I'm going to kill all your people. You understand that, right? Basically, like, when it gets down to this, like, obviously he hits his son a couple times with the umbrella. He's like, you know, most parents want their children to surpass them, right? The idea that they'll do even better than they did. But I always accepted that you were always my inferiors. You were always my lessers. So, yeah, you know, like, just deal with that, basically.
So I haven't seen any of Succession, but I feel this is Succession.
Yeah, I've not seen it either.
Down. Yeah. Boiled down to its purest form is like, none of you will ever be better than me.
I always knew you'd be beneath me. That's the line he says after he's hit him in the head with his umbrella for like the 5th time. So very good. So the final scene of the book is now having lost all of her muscle. She can't even afford to pay Intergang what they owe them now because all their shipments have been stopped by Batman. The final scene is Batman showing up to give her a light, which is how the issue started, was with him reluctantly giving a light to Penguin. And now she's wanting to work with Batman to deal with him. So, and she even says, you know, I underestimated him, and I'm pretty sure that you've underestimated him too. So let's see what we can do about it. But she does say in her narration here that she's not defeated yet. She's just desperate, and that's why she's going to Batman. So it does feel like for the first time, Batman may get a leg up on Penguin in this story, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think this was a very good constructed issue, and that it had like a big point it wanted to get across by the end, was like, you know, grinding down the twins so the daughter would want to go to Batman by the end to deal with them. And I think it successfully did that. It felt like this gauntlet throughout, where they were being hit hard, their criminal empire was being chipped away at by Batman. Penguin's basically using Batman to ruin their lives. And Batman kind of knows that, but he still wants to take them down because he's Batman. So... but yeah, I thought it built up nicely to this point where it bookended the issue and kind of this narrative, bookend. So, yeah, it was very good, and the art is gorgeous every time. Like, you know, obviously Batman's not the main character of this book, but it does a really good job of making him feel imposing and like intimidating every time he's there. You know, back of the truck, even at the end, the deep blacks, the inks. Face is always in shadow, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, the coloring's also doing a lot of work here. Because it sets the tone and the mood. So like when we look at the park, everything looks normal, natural lighting, right? But then we get to Addison and Aiden, and she's flipping the table, and everything's like in shadows and moody, and it's the opposite, you know, it contrasts because it's dark purples and blues and all of that type of stuff, and almost like Penguin's casting a shadow on his, you know, on his kids.
Yeah, and it's almost like his scenes are all brightly lit, because he's at least good at keeping up the appearance. Although I do think the scene where he's in the toilet and his ex-wife's narrating about how, oh, he's taking a long time in there. It's almost like some of this is harder or getting to him. He's just good at not showing it, but... He's rattled,
and he's not going to show it,
So yeah, that's a nice touch. That 2-page spread when we cut to the park and, like, you know, all of the twins guys are all just lying dead or soon to be dead.
Including Black Spider,
including
which
Black
is keeping
Spider.
his cover.
Yes. And Penguin's ex-wife's just sitting casually on the bench, like nothing's going on around her. Like just very entertaining, very well constructed. It makes its point by the end. Yeah, Penguin's been a really solid, surprising, consistent book.
Mhm.
You know, I don't think I'd have ever predicted that I'd be so into a book called The Penguin, but here it is.
Yeah, and it's not exactly what I would expect too, because it's not exactly like this. It's almost like a crime saga, you
Mm.
know, like because we know why he's doing it, right? To get his latest wife, you know, she's in peril, so he has to dip back into his old life. But you know, it's this. It's kind of about legacy as much as about everything else too, because it's almost like his kids. He thought his kids could handle it. That's why he was able to retire, and now he has to jump back in because clearly they can't. You know, but they seem to be doing everything fine until you know the government had Ozzy get back in and around them. So you know, I'm just wondering if this is him just justifying everything again.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why he's doing it is obviously got nothing to do with him just wanting to take everything back. He seemed like he was happily
Yeah.
retired at the start of the book.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, the question is that now that he's doing it, is he getting a taste for it now that he's doing it again?
Mhm.
I think that's the question we have to ask.
Yep.
Also, shout out to the colouring as well on the page at the end of the park scene where he's beating his son up with the umbrella.
Yep. Black and red.
Because it goes to orange and it goes to red for like the strike in that page, and then he lifts it up again and it's back to orange. And then that final strike is just a blinding sunlight, and they're in silhouette, just with a bit of red blood coming out from the sun's head. It's really nice.
Yeah, the color says Marcelo Maiolo, so prime work.
It builds. It builds. It makes every hit feel bigger than the last hit, and that's pretty good storytelling. So, all right, what are you giving the Penguin, Matt?
I'm giving this a 8.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree.